Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Batman issue number 27. This is actually kind of a sad issue. This is a really good issue. I see a lot of people talking about how it's a little convoluted, it's a little weird, it's a little hard to follow along. I personally don't see that myself. But if anybody is having a problem with that, please allow me to explain. Basically, this is an interlude for the War of Joke and Riddles, and it's mostly going to focus on Kiteman. So we actually get an origin story for Kiteman. Is this the entire origin? Essentially, yeah, but for the most part, there's still going to be more coming up about the Kiteman. There's got to be, right? Kiteman had just went and talked to Floyd Lawton, and he's basically saying, like, listen, man, I used to do some work for the Joker. There were actually 4 of us working on the Joker-mobile, and I took care of the aerodynamics. He killed the other 3. He let me live. I kind of took that as something cool. In reality, it's the Joker. It's as random gets. You know what I'm saying? So basically, he goes and he says, I'd like to do some more work for the Joker. So Lawton puts him in contact with him, you know, in his own ridiculous psychopathic way. Anyway, so he goes to start working for the Joker, but the Riddler finds out about it. He says, okay, now here's what you're going to do. You're going to be my inside man. You're going to help me figure out what's going on. So he calls him up and he does this crazy thing, and it winds up turning into a real big war, because on top of this, Batman is also trying to use Kiteman. You know, Kiteman's completely new to the game, and he's in Gotham. This is like the worst possible kind of environment to live in the entire world, right? Gotham is the absolute worst. Star City is paradise compared to freaking Gotham. So he's basically just caught up in this, thinking, I can try and make some extra money off of this. I don't have to kill anybody, you know what I'm saying? I will be responsible for the death of people. Maybe that's what he's thinking, but he's got a son. He's got a son that he's just trying to look out for. He's just basically trying to do the best he can by his son. Well, everybody is using him. Everybody's going back and forth using him to get to the other person. I'm talking about Batman and the Riddler and the Joker, all 3 of them. By the way, this is the coolest I've ever seen the Riddler. Ever. Okay, and that includes when he was doped up on Venom. Like, this is the coolest working Riddler ever. So at the end of the day, the Riddler decides to get his revenge on, Joker, I don't know what Joker would necessarily do, but when push comes to shove, the Riddler decides to go after his son. He actually poisons the kite of his son. And he actually, of course, he does a little riddle where there's no way of solving this and getting off. It's more like he solves it and realizes that his son was actually essentially murdered. Not right in front of his eyes. It's a slow-acting poison. Batman is standing right there in the shadows of the hospital, right in that room, and he can't do anything about it. Guys, when push comes to shove, I'm going to give this comic, first off, an A-. This was a brilliant comic. I'm really loving the Kiteman character, and yeah, like, this is sad. This is like a lot of my viewers, and I want to seriously, genuinely thank the hell out of you guys for some of you guys are actually pointing out that this whole story, War of Jokes and Riddles, is actually in the past, and he's just relaying it to Catwoman as the story goes on, which is awesome. It makes a lot more sense in that regard then. But man, like, this is really sad. He's sitting there relating the story of his biggest failure. I think Kiteman essentially is his biggest failure. At least that's the way it's showing so far. Maybe it's a lot bigger than that, but on the grand scheme of things, Batman genuinely did fail this guy. I mean, you know, you could say, well, what do you expect? He got himself into crime. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. But, hey, I guess maybe you haven't been on your bottom dollar. When I became a super criminal, never mind, I'm not going to talk about that and incriminate myself. But the idea is, this really genuinely is a sad story for the sake of Kiteman. And he shows up and just, like, it gets redeemed, I guess, because the stupid costume that he shows at the end, and the Joker's just looking like, this is a joke, right? Hell yeah. Anyway, guys, fantastic comic. Dude, if you're not checking this thing out, I don't know what's wrong. But this is a great comic, and you should definitely be checking this out. All right, guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.